I call the member for Indi.
You are. Thank you very much.
The member for Indi has the call.
Thank you. Thank you, colleagues. I rise here today to speak on a matter of great public importance, the urgent need for a national energy policy that supports a strong economy, vibrant communities and sensible environmental outcomes. For too long, energy policy in Australia has been at the whim of policy indecision, and the lack of certainty has resulted in low industry confidence and, according to many, is one of the main contributors to the rising energy costs and increasing unreliability. And this is a matter of great public importance. And while I understand the complexity of the issue and that there is no single solution, there is an absolute need for a nationally coordinated approach across jurisdictions with bipartisan support. And I welcome the words of the opposition leader, Mr Bill Shorten, in his commitment for Labor to work with the government to end the climate wars. This parliament has an opportunity to set the path of energy policy for the next generation. And I know that my colleagues, the member for Denison, Mr Wilkie, the member for Melbourne, Mr Brandt, the member for Mayo, Ms Sharkey, and the member for Kennedy, Mr Katter, will provide valuable insights into the views of their communities in addressing this problem. And today I want to raise the profile of community energy and the community energy sector and recognise the integral role it can play in the national conversation. And I will outline the actions taken in my electorate and the call to the government to be much more active in supporting community and grassroots activity. And to date, the community energy sector has not been represented in the national debate. It sits on the fringe of mainstream discussion, and it is a sector that has been described at best as an industry in its infancy, and at worst, the communities working to reduce their own energy costs and secure a supply have been described as living in fantasy land. But today I want to acknowledge the contribution of the community energy sector and welcome the opportunity to ensure that they continue to play an integral part in the government's energy policy. Colleagues, community-owned energy projects allow communities to develop, produce and benefit from locally produced energy. They include supply-based projects such as renewable energy installation and storage, as well as demand-side projects like energy efficiency, demand management and community education. But mostly importantly, community energy projects ensure ownership and decision-making involves local decision-making and stakeholders. And in his address to the National Press Club in February, the Prime Minister said that Australia should be able to achieve the policy trifecta of energy that is affordable, reliable and secure. And the strong view of my community is that it also needs to be sustainable. And it is in the sustainable area that community energy plays a particularly significant role. My electorate is not alone here, and there's national support for renewable energy. In March 2017, the Australian Institute reported in a national poll that 67% of people in Australia think that we as a nation are moving into the renewable energy sector too slowly, and 73% supported setting a RET for 2030. And in releasing his report on Friday, Dr Alan Finkel said that our electricity system is entering an era where it must deal with changing priorities and evolving technologies. And if the world around us is changing, we have to change with it. And more of the same is not an option. We need to aim higher. And if we adopt a strategic approach, we will have fewer local and regional problems, and we can ensure that consumers pay the lowest possible price for the long term. And I agree with him. Today I want to talk about the communities in my electorate that are aiming high, who are establishing strategic relationships with local and state governments and industry to develop their own solutions, to reduce their energy costs and secure their own energy future. It is an approach that's been supported even by the White House, with Candice Welshing, former advisor for climate energy or climate change in the White House, said community solar in particular is a way where folks can invest together, share a solar system, and it has strong economic benefits. And across Australia there are more than 60 groups developing community energy projects, as well as solar-powered breweries, dairy farms, bioenergy hubs, farmer wind co-ops and energy-efficient programs. But there's great diversity in community-driven energy activities across the nation and even in my electorate, and I'm proud to support my communities working together for a renewable energy future. The projects right across Australia have many benefits, obviously finance, but they include increased energy literacy, opportunities for local economic development and resilience, and really importantly, community development and empowerment. So for some examples, the community of Yakandanda continues to drive change at a grassroots level with their project Total Renewable Yakandanda. This project is a staged community mini-grid solution with the community aiming to achieve their vision of 100% renewable energy by 2022. Working with the Indigo Shire Council and AusNet Services, and hopefully in the very near future with the Victorian Government, this project is a clear demonstration of how community energy allows communities to reduce their costs, to increase and maybe make income from power production, and enable these benefits to be felt across the broader community, addressing the government's energy policy priority for security and affordability. The Benalla Sustainability Future Group, in partnership with the Benalla Rural Council, is conducting a feasibility study in preparation for the Benalla Future Energy Plan. And this project will deliver 2 feasibility studies for renewable energy, which will be replicated additional areas, both small and large scale. Winton Wetlands, the largest-scale wetlands restoration project in the Southern Hemisphere. Its committees of management is leading the development of a feasibility study to deliver the McGowan Power Project, a 10-megawatt solar park. And once completed, this project will enable all generated power to be sold to local consumers through a relationship with an energy provider, and profits will be reinvested in the regeneration and the scientific advancement of the Winton Wetlands. Wodonga Council, in conjunction with Renewable Albury-Wodonga Energy, have appointed Moreland Energy Foundation to conduct a feasibility study and develop a plan for a solar farm within Wodonga that benefits the whole communities. There are many other community projects, and I'd like to acknowledge the work of the Goulburn Broken Greenhouse Alliance and their partnership with local government, the Murrindindi Climate Network, the Wangaratta Sustainability Network, and a terrific forum that they led last Friday, showcasing business case studies of when local businesses are actually making money doing work on waste and renewable energy. And to North East Water, the terrific grassroots role, the leadership role it's playing at the grassroots, to clearly acknowledge the impact that your work is having right across Indi. And to businesses such as Wilson's Transformers, Mars Pet Care, you really are leading the way. So these projects have set the standards and other communities are following. And in the closing comments I would like to make that in my electorate, but I know right across Australia, we are seeing the results of what happens when industry and community expectations run ahead of legislation and regulation. When industry and community runs ahead of government and legislation and regulation. And in this parliament we have an opportunity to plan for the future, to ensure that, that we consider community energy as a legitimate mechanism in this debate that we're having. The community energy sector has grown since, say, 2010, when there were only 2 or 3 groups, to more than 60 groups today. And it's a great indication that this sector will continue to play a significant role in the future of energy. The question for us as a parliament is how can we best support this really amazing innovation? Australians are saying loudly and clearly that we want to invest in renewable energy and we want to invest in our communities. This means that jobs and investments stay local and communities have ownership over their own power. So to us as members of parliament, to the minister sitting at the desk, I say, can you please seriously give consideration to the work of communities like Indi, to communities like Yakandanda, Benalla, Wangaratta, to Murrindindi and to Mansfield. Communities are saying, we're leading the way, government, come on board. And I call on the government not only to support these communities but put some money behind it, provide dedicated funding for community-specific integrated plans and projects to show the communities of Australia that the government is behind it, and even though we might lag in legislation and regulation, will be at the front in funding.
I call the Minister for Environment and Energy.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I thank the member for Indi and acknowledge her